March 10th, 2025. This is Parshat Ki Tissa. We're going to discuss Ki Tissa this week. Of course, are going to celebrate Purim this coming Thursday evening, Friday. Looking forward to beautiful Purim, and I keep threatening to devote uh, classes to the Megillah. Um, and we love the Megillah. We love studying the Megillah, and it really deserves a very intense look, but we are focused on the Parsha this week, and I want to devote this class to the theme of the tablets, um, and it's something that we've talked about in the past, and I find that I'm always drawn to this idea. I'm drawn to it, and even if I've talked about it in the past, I can't ignore things that I'm drawn to. And um, I have some ideas about the tablets, and I want to kind of shake our iconography, and I've talked about that in the past, but I'd like to review that because the power of the visual image is so entrenched in our mind when we think about these. And I'm just going to take a couple of moments to just reacquaint yourself with this problem, and just by remarking on how they're described. So let me put up for you just some of the classic iconography, and you've seen this a million times. Okay, here I'll just pick up this one. Paul Kipnis. I mean, whatever this is. He's talking about the Ten Commandments, and this is typically how we see them in synagogues or in other places. Here we go. So big image of that. Do you all see the big classic image of the Ten Commandments? Okay. All right. So everything about this is wrong. Everything about it is wrong. First of all, the shape. Second of all, the writing, there's only two words on each line. Third of all, who knows what the material was? Fourth of all, this is modern Hebrew, square lettering, and on and on and on. And even in this one, there's so many mistakes. Look at, oh my God, this is embarrassing. I'm just looking at this now for the first time. Anochi Adonai lo yeh lo tisa. Here, what's this letter? It's a nun. It's not a zion. Shame on this person. Lo hidsach, not tir. That's a dalid, not a resh. Lo tigno, no, lo tignoch, right? It's not. It's horrible. Lo, whatever this is. Titsna, lo, what? Lo, this is embarrassing, okay? So this only tells you something here when you look at a tablet, and unfortunately, I'm in the business of this from time to time when people give me things to inscribe on stone, as in their, loved ones. They will want me to certify the inscription on a stone. And as you know, when you inscribe something on stone, it tends to stay there forever, or a little less than forever, notwithstanding weathering and all sorts of things. And certain kinds of stones have certain weathering properties. We'll leave that aside. The point is that um, because the tablets look this way as they are depicted, we are so profoundly influenced by that. And it makes reading the story impossible, I think. Let me move to what I think they may have looked like, or what I think when we talk about tablets, we ought to think about just as a way of contrast. Here we go. So there are a number of prominent archaeological finds from the last 100 years. One is these are the cuneiform tablets of Nuzi. And I'm just going to pull up this one here, okay? All right. And you can see here is tablets, okay? These are cuneiform tablets. And you can see, they've deciphered them and decoded them, etc. But you can see that they are probably made out of clay and they were incised with a stylus and they were probably baked and they were fairly portable. I just by looking at them, I would think that they're no bigger than, a book like this, and I could certainly carry this. Maybe they're smaller than this. I happen to have I keep some stones on my desk, just for this purpose, I you, small stones you can carry. Um, Big stones, if any of you have done like stone work in your homes to put tiles down or stone on your patio, these are extremely heavy. And of course, we're not going to discount the fact that the Bible's full of miracles and that the stones carried themselves, etc., etc., etc. However, if you don't want to make the Bible into a comic book, uh, then at the very least you have to take seriously what it's saying. And what I can guarantee, I'm going to put my, you know, my honor on this. I can pretty much guarantee that the tablets didn't look like the first depiction. I can conjure that they may have looked something like this. In fact, as we're going to see, the description of the tablets is that they are they're engraved from side to side. They're engraved on both sides, in fact, and that is not uncommon in ancient texts. So here we have a very, very meticulously inscribed text. It's inscribed with a stylus, okay, and it's cuneiform. It's very hard to, I mean, I don't know cuneiform, so it's hard enough to read, but you can see that there are various patterns. It would be, I would say cuneiform to us would be akin to one second, akin to Braille. Braille is a visual form that is for visually impaired. You touch it and you can feel it, and you get the you can decode the various configurations of the dots. You know, Cuneiform works not by touch but by sight, but because it's in size, it's got some dimensionality to it. Then you had a question. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it's really, I guess, the comments. I don't know. So hey, Rabbi, I'm not shocked by what you're saying because if back when the Bible started, it was very human. So if the story of the Bible was from different civilizations, I mean, we weren't there. Who really knows who wrote what when? I mean, it was passed to different villages, different civils, different areas. So, I mean, to make what you're saying actually makes sense. That in the of course it wasn't this heart shaped whatever it is that we all know about now, but it was very different back then.
So yes, I mean, and what I'm saying is, this is part of a whole approach, and that's the approach that we are using here, which is trying to figure out, as we read the Torah, especially, since we're so far removed from the environment from which it emerged, we have to kind of fill in the gaps. And I'm starting with the question of like, what's a tablet? We identify a tablet as the thing that today the word tablet refers to your computer, right? It's a tablet or the thing that you read on, a tablet reader, which is a very nice usage of the term. But what was it and what constitutes, and we don't know, except and I'm pointing to, well, these are tablets, they're stone, they're clay, they're things that are in size, they're made to be permanent. they're not monuments in the sense that we have at a cemetery, which are large stone carvings that are quite heavy to carry. We have to imagine that Moses, while endowed with certain strength, is a human being, and is not going to be lugging around 100-pound tablets on his shoulder for 40 years. Uh, Mind you that the tablets do enter the ark at a certain point. We'll talk about that later on. Um, and what are they constituted? Now, Bob, I saw you wrote where where the tablets made of sapphire stone. That would be very nice, okay, but uh, I have I like to I show my minerals here. I have all sorts of stones in a collection. So I have some quartz and whatever. Uh, these are not easy to, even in a small size, the size of your hand. Uh, you would be hard pressed to mine out a sapphire for that size. What you could get fairly easily is a piece of chalk or a piece of you know, mica or other kind of rock that is flat enough and uh, not too hard, not too soft. There's something called the Mohs scale, Mohs. Uh, I had a conversation yesterday with Bob Metz, a geologist, and I said to him, "You would have liked my description of the Urim Vitum, the breastplate, because it talked about the hardness of the minerals and the gemstones and to what extent you would be able to incise on them with an ordinary stylus. The diamond, you really can't, inscribe with a stylus. The diamond is such a hard crystal structure that I mean that's what gives its sense of permanency. You can certainly break a diamond, but you need another diamond to carve a diamond. Marlene, you had a question there. You,
Moses didn't do the carving.
I'm sorry?
Moses didn't do the carving.
Good point. So these tablets are written by God, and we will look at that text that talks about this. Um, and the question that I was asking myself was, are they in fact stone, or since we have different examples of clay tablets that are incised, could these have been originally wet clay and then kind of, dried or baked, and then become the stone tablets? There is only, to my reckoning, one place this is good trivia, one place in the Bible where clay is referred to as stone. I tried to find others, there may be others, but um, there is one place where they talk about clay as stone, and that is in the construction of the Tower of Babel, where they say, let's take clay and make it and burn it, kill ki'even. We'll make it like stone. And while it would be a bit of a stretch to say that the tablets that Moses has are clay, uh, we know of tablets that are stone and tablets that are bronze and tablets that are other materials. Okay, notwithstanding that, we have that picture of clay tablets. Let me just see what else I have here. And there's just for the sake of example, there's another famous trove of tablets called the Tablets of Mari, and these are something that you can see a little better here in terms of the. I'm just going to make it larger. Okay, um, same basic period here, a little earlier than the Mosaic. Moses is about 1500. See, you can see this is these look like they're portable and they have a crack in it, and that's what happens to tablets. Tablets um, have they're only permanent at the time that you write them, but after 3,000 years, they tend to kind of smash. Okay, and you wouldn't know that, when you're talking about it, but I'm saying that only because here's the theory I'm proposing here is that just like Anton Chekhov puts a gun at the beginning of the story, and you know that it's going to go off, there seems to be no other compelling reason for the focus and the emphasis on the tablets other than to say at some point they're going to be shattered. I like this theme very much. The idea that everything has a purpose, and motifs that appear are are present in order to teach us something, and they're not accidental at all. Uh, I'll give you another example that where a motif is there to undermine itself. I've mentioned this before, and it's the first thing that comes to mind, which is um, the Sabbath law, which says that everyone must rest, and even the slave will rest. And that is a way that you put the motif of slavery in the enclosure of freedom, and you undermine slavery. Okay, it's not the same as, I mentioned the tablets, and the very time the very moment I mention the tablets, I have in my mind the possibility of their fragility and that they may shatter, or that the person holding them may shatter. And if that is the case, then I'm only underscoring, emphasizing the importance of the word and the covenant and the agreement that's on the document, on the tablet, as being fragile. And that's really the theme that I'm going with here. So we have here these examples from antiquity of the different tablets, okay? And what I want to do now is I want to just go to the text uh, and ask basically the question, where do we first encounter uh, this idea of the tablets? Um, it's back in a previous parsha. It's Mishpatim. But if we go back to I'm not going to go that far back to all the way to chapter 19 of the and 20, but or maybe I should, but for the sake of time and the sake of condensing this, what I want to say is that in as the Israelites get to Mount Sinai, what happens is we're so concerned, the text is so concerned about what is going to happen on the mountain, and the people are terrified, and Moses wants to prepare them for this. And what on the reading that I'm giving on this way through the Torah, what I'm very sensitive to is formality and ceremony, and that they want to get it right. They want to get the whole ceremony right, and the people are unruly. The people don't know what to expect. The mountain is like quaking and filled with fire and smoke, and God is coming in such power, and the people are, they want to come to the mountain, they want to go away from the mountain, and all of that is happening back in chapter 19 and 20. We'll just skip back right, quickly to there, and you'll see what happens. Okay, so here I found this way of presenting the text just by putting up the Sfaria has a new program. So here this is from chapter 19. Uh, let's just pick it up here. The Mount Sinai emitted smoke all over. God came down in the fire. The smoke went up like the smoke of a furnace, and all the mountain trembled. The shofar was growing. Moses kept speaking. God answered in the sound of a voice. And God came down upon Mount Sinai at the top of the mountain. God called Moses to the top of the mountain. So this crazy confusion. God said to Moses, "Go down, warn the people. lest they break through to God and see many of them fall. Even the priests who approach God must make themselves holy. So there's such a tremendous emphasis on keeping everything proper, holy. You can't defile the mountain because God is there, and if you do, you're going to get destroyed. Moses said to God, "The people are not able to go up to the mountain, for you yourself warned us. Fix boundaries for the mountain, make it holy." God said to them, "Go, get down, then come up, you and Aaron with you. But the priests and the people must not break through to go up to God, lest he burst out against them." Moshe went down to the people and said to them. So I'm going to stop there and just what's that about? So what's that? I'll tell you what it's not about. Okay, it's not about the tablets. the 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 object of what is going to come from the mountain, it's not even in that story. That story is about terror of God, the mountain, the people, boundaries, holiness, confusion, noise, and the enormous uh, experience that overwhelms all apprehension of God meeting human beings. That's what that's about, okay? And that tells me something. It tells me that it's intangible. I can't even when I describe, I feel like I mumble. I'm stumbling in terms of how to describe it. I don't know how to describe it. The Torah doesn't even know how to describe it. And so I'm going from this experience, which is indescribable, and then I have two stone tablets that look like, they come from Mari or Nuzi. Okay? Let me just continue here. We'll go quickly through the rest. So what happens after that? We have the Ten Commandments. That is to say, God spoke all these words. Let me stop. Share, Marlene. I saw your hand. Go ahead.
Well, my middle name is Apikoros. So it on
Don't
one
give
hand,
yourself so much credit. Okay.
well, but on one hand, it looks like this is going to be some big secret that the people aren't going to be able to participate in. It's only going to come down through one little guy.
Yes, that's true.
So we
And
just have to have this extreme belief.
we do have an extreme belief, and the extreme belief is that not everybody has the receiver capability of this kind of intensity. I think
Except
that's
that we
true.
say that we were all at Sinai so that we all received this revelation. Does that mean we all received it only from Moshe, Morashah, Kehilat, Yaakov?
Yes, that is absolutely right. The people were so terrified they needed to run away basically, and they wanted Moshe to be their intercessor, their interlocutor. It was, it's like it was an explosion. It was vast. It was terrifying. I mean, real, whatever. I mean, this is how we are imagining in the spiritual religious imagination something that is overwhelming. Okay. I mean, I don't want to be too trivial, but I want to say like, it's akin to a nuclear explosion. This is what we're describing, which is indescribable, right? If you saw Oppenheimer, if you see documentaries of this, they're overwhelming, experiences of force, power, light, heat, and seismic waves, etc. You know, I don't want to be too coy about this, but it it's uh, the sensation and the what they're trying to depict is essentially we are incapable of depicting, and
It's that
so
you keep saying that the people were quaking and they were afraid, and yet God tells them not to come close, that they probably want to. Is
exactly.
that the inference?
No, what I'm trying to say there is, I think it's a longer conversation about what is it that people are attracted to, and I would say some people do like to step into danger. There are people who like to go to the rim of the volcano, you know, and they fall in sometimes, and that's part of human behavior. I think it's one of the essential parts of human behavior, by the way. It's I want to see what that's about. And I'm fearless about this. And I want to taste that experience. Uh, as I say, it's a longer conversation, but I'll just dip a pinky toe in that. It's just, I think that's part of the experience of hallucinogenic drugs, which is why would someone want to have that experience? And the answer, because because they want it. They want to experience. They're curious. They want to. They've been. The testimony of others has been it will change you, it will help you, it will da 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 da. So, what would stop someone from doing that and having that experience? And if you are in a place where you feel you need to reorganize your life, why wouldn't you do that? I have a second cousin who has a clinic in Westchester County who this is what he does. He has a it's a clinic where he supervises the administration of hallucinogens. And, you know, uh, okay, I mean that this is something that, you know, there's not a lot of research on, but interesting. I mean, who knows? What I'm saying is it's the unknown. For me, it's the unknown. Okay. And why wouldn't people want to go into the unknown? That's why people go to space. That's why people, go to mountaintops, etc. So it stands to reason that among the people, there were people that said, I don't want to go near this. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. And people said, I need to go near this. I want to go near this. Okay. And that's part of the dynamic of the experience. That's the best I can explain there. Okay. So what's going on there? We have after the Ten Commandments, I'm not going to go through the Ten Commandments, uh, just a postscript. The people were seeing the thunder sounds and flashing torches, the shofar sound, the mountain emitting smoke. The people saw, they faltered, they stood far off. They said to Moses, you speak with us. We will hearken, but let not God speak with us, lest we will die. So they're afraid. Moses said to the people, do not be afraid, for it is to test you. The people, though, said nothing doing. They stood far off. Moses approached the fog where God was. God said to Moses, you have seen what the heavens I spoke with you, etc., etc., etc. More commandments, and then chapter 21, and then chapter 22, and then chapter 23. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of commandments. Okay, here we go. You got everything under the whole covenant code, and then we get this. Okay, we're up to chapter 23. Chapter 24 is coming right now. Here we go. Chapter 24. Moses, he said, go up to God, you and Aaron, Nadav and Abihu. Moses alone to approach God. They are not to approach, and as far as the people, they too are not to go up with him. Moses came and recounted to the people all the words of God and the regulation. And the people answered in one voice, Naaseh, we will do. Now Moses wrote down all the words of God. He started early in the morning and built an altar beneath the mountain. So this, we recall, is the covenant ceremony. And note, I'm stopping here because this is the first time we get an account of something being written, and it's a covenant ceremony. Okay, that there's going to be a document. Now, the word document for us conjures something on paper or parchment. A document could be anything. A document could be stone also. But what is clear, I mean, it's not so clear, but let me give you the possibilities here. Is Moses writing the tablets? I don't think so. It doesn't say he's writing the tablets. What it does say is, Vayichtov Moshe et kol divrei Adonai. He writes down all the words of God, meaning chapter 21, chapter 22, chapter 23. All of those commandments he wrote down, which is a code, okay? He builds an altar and 12 stones and serving lads, and there's shalom offerings of bulls, half the blood and crate, there's the vessels or, big buckets, right? He calls them craters here. Half the blood tossed against the altar, took the covenant, read it in hearing people, and they said, we will do and we will hearken. So it's a ceremony. And the document is read. Okay, and I'll just go to my theory since I don't have the capacity to hold this out. I think the tablets are the tokens the consideration in the legal sense, it's the symbolic relic of the covenant ceremony that Moses is going to go up after this, and then God will give him the tablets as a symbol of this of the covenant. Okay, um, 1 second. Uh, Go up to me on the mountain, remain there, that I may give you. This is the first time, chapter 24, verse 12, the first time we have any mention of luchot ha'even. And the Hebrew verse is, Vayomar Adonai Moshe, Ale Elai Hahara, go up to me on the mountain, Veyesham, be there. And I gave a whole talk about stay there, it's lovely. Ve'etna lecha et luchot ha'even, I will give you the stone tablets, or here he translates it as tablets of stone, without a definite article, the tablets of stone. It seems to me that the Hebrew requires the, but na lecha et luchot ha'even. It's what's called smichut. It's a form. All the other translators, other than Everett Fox, translate it as I will give you the stones of the tablets of stone. Here is, I will give you tablets of stone. Okay, I'm very picky. Veha Torah, veha mitzvah, asher katavti lorotam. And again, this is a complicated verse here. I will give you the tablets and the Torah and the commandment that I wrote. So it's the tablets that I wrote and the Torah and mitzvah that I taught, that I want you to teach. That's we're in the world of interpretation now. What I'm saying here is the first time we get mention of a physical object coming literally out of the sky. And so the iconography of this should be that you have, God handing two tablets. I have two little rocks here. Two tablets to Moses, and Moses is holding on to that. That's but God doesn't have a hand, so what you should have is this, okay? Just the receiving, okay? And that's interesting, okay? And to me, what this suggests is, and I'm going to claim the need to find the tangible in the intangible, that it's a moment that is so abstract that it needs to be condensed literally into the densest thing that is possible, namely rock. It needs to we're taking God's word and we're kind of compressing it, engraving it on stone, and we're giving that stone from literally heaven to Moses in the form of these two engraved tablets, clay, stone, whatever. We're going to say stone, and Moses has them, and that's the symbol. Okay, and I'm struck by this because what it says to me is that this is a ceremony, and the culmination of the ceremony is going to happen after 40 days. The people ratify orally what was spoken to them out of a different document, but they will get the tablets as the symbol of the covenant, which contain within them the fragility and, of course, the possibility that they're going to be shattered. And for that, I would just want to digress for a second to show you covenant ceremonies that I think are akin to this. In they're on the cultural continuum of what's going on at Sinai and what we see basically today. I'll give you a couple examples, and since I like to use YouTube very much, I will use a few examples. Okay, and we've done this before, but I go back to this all the time. Okay, because I think it's iconic in the sense that it's a ceremony. Look, here they are, Sadat. I mean, it was an emotional moment for all of us. We all remember this very much. I'm playing it at high speed here. This is, Carter, Sadat Carter. They take the document. Look at the big binder. Okay, there's Menachem Begin signing the Camp David Accords. Okay, Okay. And now the document and music, they're passing it back. All of them are signing it. And we're going to see in a second the famous handshake, okay, which is they're playing music in the back for high speed, flags. I'm just gonna, there you go, there you go, boom, okay, and there it is, there it is. That's the moment that is really part of all history. Okay, the three-way handshake, which again to this day I think we all get very emotional about it. And so what went on there was there was they didn't read the covenant. Okay, they had speeches before and a ceremony, and then the documents were exchanged with each other, and then I guess they get archived. They are archived in a central archive in Israel, in Egypt, in Washington, and they're part of the for lack of a better word, the National Archive treasure of these nations. Okay, I want just because these are such fascinating things and they're so accessible to us. Let me give you another example. Okay, which is a couple of years ago, the Abraham Accords. Okay, I know that many of you find some characters.
Ukraine signed a trilateral agreement at the United.
So,
Wayne Gretzky
oh,
is the great one.
sorry about that. That's the don't. You'll get
Israel, the United Arab, also signed by U.S. President Donald Trump. His a new Middle
okay.
East,
All right.
dubbed the Abraham Accords. It formalizes the normalization of Israel's already warming relations with the two Gulf states. CBC's senior Washington editor.
Okay, so that's just a clip of that signing ceremony, and you recall there were speeches, there was signing, the presentation of the document, okay, and then all of the different parties take their document and archive them in their national archives. I have to, for your permission, with your permission, share one more iconic moment that is part of uh, our heritage, our my heritage, and that is in 1982 when Queen Elizabeth came to Canada and signed the Canadian Charter of Rights. So we are zooming here. Here we go. Pointing out to Quebecers that he understands their dilemma at the time. Queen Elizabeth, okay, the Canadian Constitution was ratified, and then she had to come to Ottawa to sign it over to the government of Canada. That's Pierre-Éliott Trudeau. That's the father, Justin Trudeau, no longer prime minister. No comment. She's sitting. She's going to sign. Young. She was so young then. Will be witnessed later. Okay, look, I'm going to stop here. Okay. So this is the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which is part of the Canadian Constitution. She is signing this, and he is saying, as soon as she signs it, it becomes the law of the land. Okay. And it's a ceremony, and a ceremony that says past versus future. This is the junction of past and future. The signing is that, okay? There's is now home. He said the Constitution is now home. She, by signing it, she gave Canada the power to have its own constitution, because until that point, any time that there needed to be constitutional change, it had to go to the British Parliament. Fanfare in the background, as you can hear. I always like to figure out what kind of pen they were using. It looks like a beautiful gold pen. I don't think it was a fountain pen. I think it was a ballpoint pen.
Like a ballpoint pen.
And that was that.
Were you there?
82. I was not there that year, okay, but I do of course recall this moment. It was a moment of great celebration. because what it meant was now we have the legal instrumentality to to be a nation in our own in with independence. It was a kind of quasi independence. It required ceremony and it required tokens of ceremony, which were documents. Now,
Marriage ceremony.
exactly, okay, exactly. This is the marriage ceremony involves a document. And I'm glad you mentioned it because the divorce ceremony, which is a legal ceremony, also involves a document and involves in if the ketubah is present at the get, the ketubah has to be broken. It has to be torn. Okay, and the tearing of the document symbolizes that what is written in the document no longer applies. It would be the equivalent of burning a mortgage, tearing a mortgage. The mortgage itself no longer has validity on the parties because either the terms have expired because you paid your mortgage or because it's broken. Okay, and that's exactly what happens here. So it's happening in the most literal sense possible because a word gets broken and the tablet gets broken. It's the concretization of what is essentially abstract, namely the word. Okay. Let me go into it in the text, and we'll see how this proceeds. I'm sorry for a second. Let me just pull up the text again. No, it's back in my Google. Okay, back here. So we're back to chapter. Okay. Let me go to chapter 31. Pull it up for a second. 31. Here we go. Uh, so at the end of this parsha, we get it's not the in Ki Tissa at the beginning. We get Vishamru, Ushmartem, Sheish Yamim Tasem Malacha, a commandment, and then the Vishamru, which we are familiar with from the weekly Shabbat afternoon Kiddush, Vishahamru V'nei Israel et Shabbat. All of this is the end of the account of the instructions for the tabernacle, reminding us that we have to keep Shabbat as we make the tabernacle, and that it's a covenant. 6 days the God made heavens and earth, and then verse 18. And it's just all it's what struck me is that it's just like just put there like a little PS. It literally could have started with PS. God gave Moses, when he finished speaking with him on Mount Sinai, the two tablets of the testimony, tablets of stone written by the finger of God, which is what you said earlier, and which is what I'm underscoring now. And so when I look at this verse now, I almost want to hear dun 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 dun. It's like what's going to happen now? This is my Chekhovian verse, right? God gave Moses when he finished speaking on Mount Sinai, Shnei Luchot Ha'idut, the two tablets of testimony, Luchot Ha'even, stone tablets, Ketuvim, written Be'etzba Elohim. So you stop, you sip your glass of wine with this, and you go like, I have tablets of stone. I guess they're not clay, okay? They're written with God's finger, so we know that stone is hard, and we know that God God's is more powerful than anything. So God can incise stone, and I would go into a metaphor of, the heart, the tablets of the heart, the mind, etc. And I remember presenting that idea previously. It's Your Amazzoni. It's a nice idea that the mind is the tablet and and all that, and that we're being incised. It's really a metaphor for the mind to be incised by the word of God. But leave the metaphor off for a second and just here's the text. God gave tablets to Moses. It's These are tablets written by the finger of God, whatever that means. I don't know what that means. Okay? Now, the people saw Moses halting. They fabricate the golden calf, and we then go to uh, the moment that Moses sees the calf, all of which I'm scooting through, okay? And this is we're now in chapter 32. And here is the verse. Moses faced about to come down from the mountain. I see Marlene, your hand, I'll get you in a second. The two tablets of testimony in his hand. U'shnei luchot ha'idut biyado, luchot Ktuvim Mishnei Abraham. And we got another piece of information about the tablets, that they are written on both sides. And the rabbis construe that the writing it's laser writing. It goes through the tablets. So you can read them, reverse. It's like I I can read I can read it miraculously on both sides, and there's what to be said for that mystical interpretation. But I'll leave it aside. I think that there's actually a much more uh, pragmatic interpretation, which is that the text covered both sides, and that this is the writing of text in such a way that there's no punctuation, and that the text continues around the stone. Okay, or it may be that the text is written on one side, and then it's like, I use my printer. When I use the printer in the office, it's double-sided printing. And I know you're laughing here because why do we do double-sided printing? Because we save paper. We want to save paper. So why is he doing double-sided chiseling? Because he wants to save stone, or because he wants to put it on one stone. Okay. My point is that it's a strange kind of characterization of the tablets. Luchot ktuvim mishnei vehem. They're written in both sides. Mizeh u'mizeh ktuvim. They're on this side and that side. Verse 16. Va'luchot maseh Elohim hema. Va'michtav michtav Elohim hu. Charut ala luchot. And you can see I get very animated. This is where one needs to be a storyteller. I imagine, this is how you engage the mind of a child. I have a grandchild, and she's not able yet to understand these stories, but I look forward to the day when I could say to her, "Look, haluchot maseh Elohim. They were made by God. V'michtav michtav Elohim, and it was God's writing. Charut ala luchot, engraved by God." So what I'm doing there is I'm saying with astonishment, this is what's come from heaven. This is the tablets, okay? And so what the text is forcing me to do is become excited and become astonished and become overwhelmed by the token of the covenant having emerged from heaven, having been, carved by God, written by God, given by God to Moses. And now Moses is carrying them down, like, he's holding them in his hands. Okay. And then we get to the climactic moment of the whole story, which is Joshua heard the sound of the people, the sound of battle in the camp. No, the sound of song. And we have lectures on every verse here. Okay. So here it is, verse 19. And it was when he neared the camp. Vayar et ha'egel u'mecholot. He saw the calf and dancing. Vayicharaf Moshe. He got angry. Vayashlech miadav et haluchot. He threw the tablets from his hands. Vayishaber otam tachat hahar. Oh, I get emotional just reading it, okay? He smashed the tablets beneath the mountain, okay? Beneath, it's the foot of the mountain, okay? Now, you have the film, you have the this, it's, you know, I throw them down, and they're not huge enough to not go far. You know, now all the beautiful richness of interpretation is, I love the midrash. The midrash says that the tablets were held up by flapping wings, and they were keeping them buoyant, and the minute that they broke the covenant, all the letters of the tablets flew to heaven, and the tablets were just stone, and they became too heavy for Moses to carry, and so he dropped them. Or
So
you want to say Moses good for Moses. I mean, this is a very rich rabbinic debate where the rabbis are saying, good for you, Moses. You showed them, Moses. And the others are saying, you went too far, Moses. You shouldn't have done that, Moses, because they're holy. God made them. How dare you do that, Moses? I mean, it's such a rich debate on the basis of, what is the human capacity to really, go beyond the boundary that is set for you in terms of what is human and what is godly. Okay, we'll leave all of that aside because even though it's a rich conversation, but it's just the astonishment of the moment where he takes the tablets and he casts them down and he breaks them. Okay, and that ensues when what that symbolizes to you, and to anybody would be. Okay, so you saw Queen Elizabeth signing the document, and you saw, Trump and Netanyahu and the UAE and they were signing the document, and you saw Sadat and Begin and Carter signing the document. And think about it, okay? If here we are, a generation after Camp David, maybe two, three generations after Camp David, and if there's someone to take that book and say, rip it up, okay? Now, that is the tremendous anxiety and tension and fear that we have even at this moment, okay? I'll give you it's very real. Every time I read something like Egypt has forces in the Sinai, okay? The very next line is, does this mean, or places in question, you know, is the treaty still intact? The treaty has been around for 50 years. Does the Camp David is the Camp David Accord still in force, or will it still survive this moment of tension? So there are those on the one side who say, of course it will, because we have all the institutionality of this, and there are those who say, you know, it's a document and it could fall apart at any moment. And that's what's inherent in any kind of agreement. Agreements are only good as the document itself, holds it, or as what is underneath the document is still there. And I think this is, of course, what the moment of Sinai and the shattering of the tablets means. This is not a terribly complicated, message, which is the tablets are only as good as the party who holds them. And Moses was really saying that. What's the use? What's the use of having these tokens of the covenant if the people, the minute I go away, can't adhere to the most basic aspect of the covenant, namely, thou shalt not have any other gods beside me, and you shall not make them into any kind of physical image. If they can't adhere to that, the covenant is broken. And so the tablets are just stone. And so I'm just going to throw, and what he does is he shatters them. I should have put up the moment Chaim Herzog, when he was the UN Israel's UN ambassador, it's an iconic moment, and maybe I don't have the time to look for it, but you can look for it, where he gives the speech about Zionism as racism. I don't know if you remember this. It was so moving. He said, "This resolution is not worthy of the paper that it's written on," and he tore the paper in front of the General Assembly of the United Nations. Now, look, here I am 50 years later, and I can remember that moment. It's an iconic moment because it says that the words are meaningless, and therefore whatever it's on has no value, and I'm shredding it. So this is the tablet. The words are meaningless. Whatever it's on, namely the tablets, are not have no value, and therefore I'm doing the equivalent of tearing a document, breaking a covenant, tearing the ketubah. I'm shattering the tablets, and that's the simplest explanation possible. Well, I want to just, I know I have a minute left, and I want to just share with you how this becomes, the symbolism is so powerful in Jewish life, that it continues to really inspire. You know, we quote often the idea that Moses, and this will happen in a couple of weeks when it's Vayakhel, when the whole Mishkan is assembled, Moses will place Ha'idut, the testimony, and frankly, it doesn't say Luchot Ha'idut, and I'm disappointed in the Torah that it doesn't say Luchot Ha'idut. It would make my case much stronger. But it only says testimony, okay. And I wanted to say Luchot Ha'idut, the tablets of the testimony. Moses places the testimony in the ark, and the ark is sealed, and that's it. They carry it around, both copies. My interpretation, one copy for Israel, one copy for God, both located in the same safety deposit box. Fine. Okay. But of course, the rabbis tell us that it's the full copy, the full intact tablet, and the broken tablets. Okay. And that Moses places the second set of tablets, which he goes up to get again in our parsha, gets a new set of tablets. It's a set of tablets that Moses carves, not God. It's a set of tablets that God writes, but Moses carved. Different. So there's only one set of the original, and there's no more. This is a reproduction, okay? The second set is not lacks the authenticity of the first set because Moses carved them himself, not God. God wrote them. Moses takes the new replica of the commandments, tablets, places in the box, and they're there, according to the rabbis, the new and the old, the replica and the original, the original broken, and the replica. Okay, that becomes such a powerful idea. It tells us of failure, not going around, and we can make lots of sermons on it. But I take one little sermonic idea, which is memory loss and what we would call dementia or Alzheimer's, or something that God forbid comes to many people that we love, who having such ability and capability, mental acuity, and as they age, they lose that mental acuity, and sometimes very catastrophically. Okay, and this is what the rabbis say about that. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi advised, be careful to continue to respect an elder who has forgotten his Torah knowledge due to circumstances beyond his control. V'hizaharu b'zaken sheshachach talmudo mechamat onso. De'amarinan luchot v'shivrei luchot munachot ba'aron. Wow, you could cry. As we say, both the tablets, even though he's no longer a Torah scholar, he must still be respected for the Torah that once possessed. As we say, both the tablets of the covenant and the broken tablets are placed in the Ark of the Covenant in the temple. Even though the first tablets were broken, their sanctity obligates one not to treat them with contempt. An elder who forgot the Torah knowledge he once possessed is likened to these broken tablets. Wow. the Tor luchot v'shivrei luchot munachot ba'aron. So it says is, in the brain, we got pieces, but you still have to respect it. You still, I feel like you still have to respect the scholar who once had knowledge, who, for reasons beyond their capability, no longer has the ability to have it all integrated. And as many of us, and I myself experienced this with loved ones, we know this, okay, that in certain forms of dementia, you get a word here, a word there, a piece here, a piece there. It's just a scattering of all sorts of ideas, and you are there you're listening, you're interacting, and what you're really trying to do is trying to kind of it's reassemble scrambled words, and it's very painful. And yet we are called upon to offer the person the respect and honor that they are due because they once held it all intact. So it's very, very emotional, is because we all know people that have not held on to their ability to hold, their thoughts and to keep memory, etc. I don't want to say it happens to us all, God forbid, but I know that it is an experience that many of us have had with loved ones. Not that we have it ourselves, but I will be self-deprecating enough to know that sometimes you forget a word, you forget a sentence, you forget an idea. It all happens to us, and this is certainly a feature of getting older. Where you're missing a packet, you're missing a piece of information. לוחות ושברי הלוחות מונחות בארון. It's all there. It's all there. So we have to honor it. And I love the way that the tradition reflects that. So I'll leave it there for now. But I just want to see if you react to any of that. If that's been your experience, especially I don't want to say with older people, but many of us have had, let's say, older people who have in our lives who have demonstrated, to that extent. I mean, I was with someone who was quite elderly the other day, and she is fairly intact, and then it was a conversation, and then it was the same conversation, and I said, you just said that I had enough of a rapport to be able to say, you just told me that. And then she said, yeah, I know, but I'll tell you again. Then that we have all that there's what to be said for having a bit of humor about it. I think that I spoke about it on Shabbat. I'll say it again. I think we underestimate, or maybe we truly do value. You cannot give enough value to humor in easing these complex situations. I wish, just as a conclusion, I wish that the moment that Moses smashed the tablets would have had a little bit, but obviously there are situations that need it, that demand it, and demand resolution. And I wish that maybe in some of the things that we see in the public sphere, the public domain, would have more humor to them, because it would just take away the sting of everything. And we're living in difficult times where you can't do that. It's just it's very hard. Anyway, uh, but we'll leave it there, unless you have any reaction to any of what I said on anything. Go ahead, John. You have John? Or no, just waving. Okay. Very good. All right.
I think it's a beautiful verse.
It's a beautiful verse.
לוחות and the שברי לוחות בארון.
Absolutely. You know what? I think that
It's amazing.
it's something that it's in the top number of quotable quotes.
I never heard it until now.
Good. Okay. So
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Toda rabba, everyone. We'll see you all tomorrow. It's in person and online for the ladies, and that's it.